Hello everyone, welcome back. So in this Kubernetes series, we are discussing this Kubernetes from the CK exam perspective, right? We are learning it from the scratch, right? So far what we have done is we have discussed the Kubernetes installation, we have discussed the Kubernetes architecture, and then we have discussed the smallest object which is called pod. Then we have seen how you can create a pod using the command line, and then the definition file we have discussed, which is a YAML based file, right? Then we have seen the what is the replica set, what is the deployment, and how they are useful in our cluster management part, right? Or maybe for the application perspective also, how they can helpful all this, right? So in this video, we will gonna explore namespaces in Kubernetes, right? The namespaces, that is the very important term to understand. What is namespace and what is the basically the useful, right? What is the benefit of namespace we need to understand, right? So basically namespace in Kubernetes is like a logical partition, right? In a virtual cluster or maybe whatever the cluster wherever you are running, right? It's just a partition, right? The isolated places to make it isolate from other resources, right? Like you, if I take a like kind of analogy, right? Think about a separate room in a hotel, right? Or maybe in a same house also, right? So each room will have their own TV, their ACs, Wi-Fi, right? And the other facilities. So all everybody is having their own resources, right? And they are kind of isolated from each other, right? You cannot directly go without permission or something, right? So same way in Kubernetes also we have these namespaces, right? So these namespaces are nothing. These are just a isolated place with the almost kind of full their whatever the resource they need to run the application they will have, right? So I have updated this file in our repo as well. So we can create a dedicated or purpose wise namespace to work into the differently. What do you mean by purpose wise? Let's say you have that uh, one cluster only, right? Where you are running your maybe let's say test and development as well, and maybe the prod as well, right? Or maybe within the prod also, or in the test and development also, if you want to segregate environment, right? Or if you want to manage in a way like the development team will only see their resources, and maybe the admin team will they, or maybe from the development also, like application one, there is one team who is developing application one, right? So maybe you can create for one app, one dev, right? Like that we can create, let's say app one dev environment. Then I have create app two for dev environment, right? And I don't want they will gonna communicate to each other, right? So that way that you can create a dedicated and purpose wise namespace in the Kubernetes, right? It is written also there. Each namespace has their own resources, policies, and role, right? Like policies, roles, we will see further. Like you can even create a RBAC rule, right? RBAC policies, so that only the app one team will be able to access it, not app two. In this case, app two will able to see, not app one, right? Like that also we can manage. That is a granular level kind of thing we can do with the namespace using RBAC, right? Within a namespace, resource can talk to each other with the name only, right? They don't need to go with that different name, right? Let's say you have that this one, right? These two different name, right? So here, let's say we have that web server is running, right? Then we have the app server running, and then we have the DB server running, right? So this is the environment for the app one, right? Maybe the same environment for we have this app two, right? If this web is wanted to talk to the app service or maybe the pod, right? They can directly go to that okay, ping app, they can ping, right? They can talk. But if they want to talk to this app, right? Then you can see that within the namespace you have this name, right? But how it will be recognize that which app it will gonna calculate. So for that we have that a kind of full FQDN. That is something that the, yeah, it is written there. You can see resource name dot namespace name dot svc and cluster dot local, where cluster dot local is a default domain for the cluster, right? You can see. So what I, if I need to talk this DB, so how I will go, I will say DB dot app2 dot dev, right? Then svc dot cluster dot level local. So like that, I can talk to this DB from this web if my policy and network rules are allowing to communicate with this, right? So that way you need to tell, right? Because that service is already created and the DNS entry will be added in the format for each namespace. And this is the format they follow for the FQDN, right? Same way, like if you are sitting in the same network zone, right? You don't need to go to that gateway, right? You can directly communicate. You don't need to go to the firewall. You can communicate directly. But if you are going out of your subnet, right? Obviously, you need some kind of routing. You need some kind of DNS, right? So that you will be able to resolve it. So similarly, this is the FQDN they follow, right? And one more thing, when we create any resources or any list, right? List or any resources, it will list the resources from the default namespace. Reason is when you deploy your Kubernetes cluster, right? So by default, what Kubernetes will do, it will gonna create something called default kube system. There is something called kube public, and there is one more. Let me go back. Let me go to my cluster. So here I will gonna list the kubectl get ns. So by default, what will happen is ns is nothing. Ns is just a short form for the namespace, right? Namespaces. So here you can see we have the default, we have the kube public, kube system, and one more is kube code leases, right? Let me paste here. So these are the four default namespaces will be created once you deploy your Kubernetes cluster, right? So this is something that you want to do it, right? Because that is the requirement, right? You want to separate your environment with same way like for the application like dev, test, and prod, right? Or maybe you want to set some kind of limit. We will talk about that, right? Like you want to isolate. So similarly, Kubernetes also does the same thing, right? Like if I want to do this Kubernetes, not Kubernetes, kubectl get let's say pods. If I directly do, it will gonna list that from the default namespace, right? But if I want to deploy list from the different namespace, then I need to specify that namespace with the -n flag, right? So as of now, there is no in kube public, right? Let's see in kube system that we have already discussed, right? We seen our what do you call it, that component, right? So you can see that these are the main components which is running in the cube system, right? So cube public is kind of, I think, the open for all, every app, almost the system component and all these, right? Like everybody can go and read those information, right? You can put it right. Node lease is I think will keep the internal node heartbeat information like that. Let's see if we have any pod running there. I'm gonna this. As of now, nothing is there, but yeah, it is something related to which kind of heartbeat internally if they need to do something, right? Then they will do create. We will see that when we see that how we can upgrade or maintain our another node. Then probably see if it is creating any kind of node here, right? But that is the main purpose of this, right? So what I have done is I have this CK, and here you can see this is the deployment we have already seen, right? So this is the YAML file, right? The definition file of namespace. So where the only the API version is v1, kind will be the namespace, and metadata is just you need to give, right? Once you apply this, what it will do is it will gonna create your dev namespace. As of now, you can see there is nothing, right? You can create like this as well. Kubectl create ns, let's say test. Okay, and if you list, you can see we have the test namespace. Same way, if you want to do it, you can say create -f, and it will be the 06, right? And now if I do kubectl get ns, so here I have this dev namespace is running, right? So that way that you can create your own namespace if you want, right? Now the question comes, how we can deploy this particular pod in that namespace which we want to target, right? So to do that, there are two ways. While you are deploying any of the, let's say, kubectl run nginx dash dash image equal to nginx, and I will say test. So what it will do is, if you say kubectl get ports, it is not so, but when I say, so I'm in the test environment, so you can see that it is creating in the test environment, right? So there is one way using the command line. You need to specify that, okay, create a nginx pod, but you need to create in the test namespace, and you can see that it is getting created, right? Because it will need to pull that image and everything, right? And there is another way using the definition file. When you do with the definition file, right, so what you need to do is you need to specify this, right, where you want to do is here. You can see that I am saying the namespace will be the dev, right? So that way you need to specify. And now if I'll do this, right, let's say kubectl create hyphen f 07 will be the dev. It is created. Now get pods and hyphen n dev. So you can see that in dev environment we have that one pod is running, right? Whereas if you just do this, so this was running almost 28 hours, right? You can see it is 5 seconds. So it is from the default one, and it is from the which one, dev namespace. So that is the reason, like you need to see how you can create and all this. So if you are doing it with definition file, then you can specify namespace equal to dev, right? Let's see what we have, and that we already discussed. I think I have specified here as well. You can refer this. I'm not sure this file is already pushed or not, but yeah, I will definitely push it. You can refer that from our content repo. So this is again the same. It is telling if you wanted to use command line, then you can create like this. If you wanted to do like from the definition file, then you can do this, right? And this is the command which we will see further going forward. As of now, I'm not going to uh, like change my namespace, right? But if you want to do, right, because as of now default is the normal context which is set to my namespace, right? So if you do this, right, so what will happen is it will automatically change your if I'll see, let's see, run, it will come back to default now, right? Now if I do kubectl get pods, right, so you can see that this is the new pod coming from the which one, dev environment. And if I do this hyphen n default, this is from the default, right? But now I just want to stick to my development environment, right? Again it has modified, and now if I do this, so it is giving me the same web one running, which is running from 28 hours, not from 91 seconds. If I need to do this, right, what I need to do, I need to specify my namespace again, right? So that way you can specify and you can change your stuff, right? There are one more thing I just wanted to show, right? Yeah, this compute limit, right? Resource quota, right? Let's come to our notepad first file. Let's say you have that only 16 CPU and let's say 32 GB of RAM of your worker node, right? And there are only one worker node where these application teams are allowed to do their some kind of testing or something, right? Now how you will gonna limit, what if app 1 will consume almost all CPU and RAM, right? Then app 2 will cry, they will say that we don't have any like enough resources to test our thing, right? So for that Kubernetes will give you a leverage, something called resource quota. You can limit a particular namespace to use that quota, right? If that quota is reached, right, then no further resources will be deployed, right? That is a very good thing, right? In the prod also, and maybe in the test, obviously in the test we much needed it, right? That is the only way we can like limit our team, right, to use that particular limit of quota, right? Let me show you one file. I think it is 8. So here you can see, right, how you can create a resource quota. As of now, if I'll show you kubectl get, I think same way we can resource quota. Yeah. There is no default, and in dev also there is no resource quota found, right? So as of now there is no limit. The whatever we want to deploy, we can deploy using that our image, right? But what if we need to deploy multiple, or you need to deploy this with the resource quota? So how we can do that? You need to create one definition file, and the definition file kind will be the resource quota, right? API version is v1 only. Kind will be the resource quota. What is the name of resource quota you are giving? Let's say compute limit, and I am restricting this compute limit to the dev environment, right? And I am setting a hard limit, right? For hard limit, what I am doing is I am just saying, okay, you can only deploy only 5 pod, right? If you are going beyond 5, probably you will not be allowed, right? Same way, you can set your request CPU, how much CPU you can request, how much memory you can request, how much limit for a CPU, right? Like you can request up to 4, right? But when you how much maximum you can up to 10 you can do, right? You can up to 10 GB you can do, right? But this is because I am running very low machine, so probably this is not feasible. But when we do in cloud, right, I will show you this as well. But as of now, let's see how this resource quota will behave if we set the limit 5 for pods. All right, so let's see in action now. I will quickly create this resource quota. File is 08, right? Now if I do this, so you can see that it is showing me a resource quota in the dev environment. But if I run this, then there is no resource quota in the default, right? I have limited to the dev namespace. So here what it is saying is you have a limit of 5, and out of 5 you are already running one, right? Let's see, get pods hyphen and dev. Yeah, we have already running one. Let's say if I run kubectl run nginx1 dash dash image equal to nginx, right? Let's try to create 2, and let's try to create 3. Let's create 4. Let's count how many are running. Oh, sorry, we have created in the deploy default one, right? Because you can see it has created in this one. Okay, let me delete it so that we will create it in dev. My bad. Let me give me 1 second. Delete pod nginx1, nginx2, nginx3, nginx4. Right? All 4 are deleted because it will gonna at the backend it is sending the kill signal to that process, right? Because what is this pod and container? Ultimately these are the process, right, which is running in an isolated namespace, right? And this is sending the kill signal to that process. So that is why sometimes it will gonna take time to, because it is a gracefully it will gonna set down that particular thing, right? You can do it forcefully as well, but deleted is something that again that it will gonna send the kill, and it will be doing in a minute. Let's see, because this command when we are running, right, so it should be running in the dev environment, then only we'll see that how many ports we have achieved, right? That's the way I just want to show. Come on. Okay, let me cancel it and let me see. Okay, it is terminating, so probably it will gonna terminate. And let's run it again. Nginx dash dash image equal to nginx. I will say in the dev environment. Right now, if I will list the pod in the dev environment, so we can see we have one is running, right? And if you see the resource quota in dev, so now you have achieved 2 out of 5, right? Let's quickly create 3 more. As of now, we are just checking it whether it will gonna uh, stop at stop us or not, right? We are not seeing that whether it will gonna run or not, right? Because we have already seen how you can do it, but it is pending state. Maybe it will gonna do. We can check the logs or stand. But as of now, with the resource limit, you can see that ports 5 out of 5, right? Now let's quickly try to create one more, and let's see what will happen. You can see it is forbidden. Why? Exceeded quota compute limit, right? Requested port 1, used was already port 5, and limit is port 5, right? So it is clearly saying that you have already exhausted your limit, right? You cannot deploy one more, right? So that is the way the this quota is very very helpful, especially in this development environment. In prod also, right? but in the development it is very very useful to limit your team so that they will not go beyond whatever that we are doing, right? So that is the way that we can do. All right, so that is something. Yeah, one more thing, when you do let's say ns, right? As of now we have test, right? If I say pods hyphen and test, so we have one pod is running, right? You can directly delete your namespace, like, but you need to keep in mind when you're deleting your namespace directly, right? What it will do is it will delete everything, whatever it is running, whatever the resource object is running in that particular namespace, right? Everything will gonna delete it with that particular command, right? So you need to make sure, if you don't if you want to keep your namespace, you just want to delete something, maybe any service ports or whatever you have created, right? Then that you can delete, right? But if you directly deleting the namespace, right, then obviously whatever inside that particular, that also get vanished. All right. So that was the namespace concept in Kubernetes, right? And it is very very helpful. You can think it as a like rooms, right? Separate rooms, and each separate room will have their some kind of resources they can use it. All right. So that was the quota limit from the namespace, right? But we have this quota limit for what? We have this quota limit for our pods as well. Like in the pod also you can restrict this, right? So in the next video we will gonna discuss how you can restrict, how you can restrict your pod to limit you to use a CPU and memory and all this, right? So that is that how. And same thing here also, if I go to that file, so here you can see that for this particular namespace also you can request and you can limit it, right? But same thing we can do for the pod as well. All right, so that probably we'll try to explore in the next video. All right, guys, so that's it for the day. And obviously, if you found this useful, so please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel Path for Cloud. And let's keep learning Kubernetes together. All right, so I will meet you in the next video. Thank you. Bye bye.